Salut pour tous et soyez les bienvenus dans le programme Planète Kitab avec Adesanete. We are making a series to talk about the Brazilian Amazon with the objective to lift this mystic veil that covers the region. We have to separate legends and myths from the reality, and this is what we are looking into doing with those series of programs. And we're starting by talking about the prehistory of the Brazilian Amazon. And I've been telling you, 12,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, this society was amongst the most developed ones in the planet. So they dominated all the techniques that the most advanced populations in the planet dominated by the time. And they spread their populations through the rivers. So all the rivers were connecting all those populations that lived and survived in the Brazilian Amazon. The environment was pretty rough. So if you reach 40 years old, you be a very ancient people into this society. It spread through the rivers into the forest by the use of fire and the learning that they were starting to have on cultivating the land. It was a limited knowledge. They had to fight against the forest and they used the fire. And the populations that thrive into that time, they climbed up the mountains in the Andes because there they didn't have the disease. So the forests, the Amazon forest was always the result of man interaction with the fire. And what limited the spreading of populations and the growth of those society was always the presence of infectious disease. So when the populations started to grow, they were diminished by the occurrences of those disease. And the populations that climbed the mountains, they managed to stay away from those diseases and they could develop further. So this is a very important message that comes from the prehistory of the Amazon. Two main messages. First one, the fire was always used to manage the forest, and the forest that we see today is the result of this interaction of the former Amazon populations. And the second one, the most important limitations for their growth was the presence of infectious disease. So this was the prehistory of the Amazon, as a prehistory of fire and infectious disease. Let's see more of this in the next chapter. Let God's peace and the love that builds be our weapons on the daily struggle for justice. Adesanete for tous les amis africains.